at the right time to the right people so that they can be able to make the right decisions that they need to make. So we look at aspects such as data mining. So it's just a technique used to discover patterns, trends, relationships on large data sets. Eight. Okay. Yeah. So concepts under business intelligence, it combines business analysis, data mining, data visualization, data tools and infrastructure for best practices to help organizations make data-driven decisions. So ideally, when you get a data set, you'd first begin by now extracting the information from it. For example, if it's a CSV file, you get the data and let's say now load it on Power BI. We'll look at that in the next few minutes. Then you can either decide to put the data inside a warehouse, you can decide to put it inside a database, any where you'd want to store the data. Then you now analyze the data. You can decide to opt to make a dashboard out of the data, or you could just analyze the data, for example, using Python. So we'd be looking at dashboarding or just analysis using Power BI in this class. Then from there, you can be able to now make decisions out of the data, or the the stakeholders that would be using the data, you would be able to make decisions from that data analysis that you've done. So importance of business intelligence. So first, it helps and identify ways to increase the profit. For example, if you're able to look at a trend that you've been able to uh, create, you can be able to see, for example, this specific X was doing really well at this specific point, or you can look at now which um, what you are implementing as a company in terms of, for example, if it's marketing, any specific thing that you were able to do in that specific year that was performing well that you're not doing in this other year would be able to help you make informed decisions on how you can be able to increase your profit. It can help you, for example, analyze customer behavior. So analyzing, for example, which products do you normally sell that normally do well, which specific years they do well, which specific months they do well. Then compare data with competitors. So, for example, if you're comparing data that you have and data that your competitors have made publicly available, comparing how you're doing to what they're doing, then you can also compare how they're doing with also the measures they've set in place in terms of, for example, if it's still, I'm going to give reference to sales data. For example, if they're using certain measures to, let's say, market certain um, social media platforms to market, for example, certain stores. Yes. So you can also track your performance over time. You can optimize your operations. You can now predict the success. Power BI has a function for predicting. Spot market trends, discover issues or problems. So you can be able to do all that using business intelligence. So we'll just watch a video immediately after this. So data storytelling is a structured approach to communicating data insights that involves a combination of three key elements. Now, the data that you have, the visuals, and the narrative that you're trying to put across. Yeah, so let's just look at this video, then let me know what you think. Sorry about that. Let me know if you can hear.
Visualization is right at the heart of my own work too. I teach global health. And I know having the data is not enough. I have to show it in ways people both enjoy and understand. Now, I'm going to try something I've never done before. Animating the data in real space, with a bit of technical assistance from the crew.
So here we go. First, an axis for health, life expectancy, from 25 years to 75 years. And down here, an axis for wealth, income per person, 400, 4,000, and $40,000. So down here is poor and sick, and up here is rich and healthy. Now, I'm going to show you the world 200 years ago, in 1810. Here come all the countries. Europe brown, Asia red, Middle East green, Africa south of Sahara blue, and the Americas yellow. And the size of the country bubbles show the size of the population. And in 1810, it was pretty crowded down there, wasn't it? All countries were sick and poor. Life expectancy were below 40 in all countries. And only UK and the Netherlands were slightly better off, but not much. And now, why start the world? The Industrial Revolution makes countries in Europe and elsewhere move away from the rest. But the colonized countries in Asia and Africa, they are stuck down there. And eventually, the Western countries get healthier and healthier. And now we slow down to show the impact of the First World War and the Spanish flu epidemic. What a catastrophe. And now I speed up through the 1920s and the 1930s. And in spite of the Great Depression, Western countries forge on towards greater wealth and health. Japan and some others try to follow, but most countries stay down here. Now, after the tragedies of the Second World War, we stop a bit to look at the world in 1948. 1948 was a great year. The war was over, Sweden topped the medal table at the Winter Olympics, and I was born. But the differences between the countries of the world was wider than ever. United States was in the front, Japan was catching up. Brazil was way behind, Iran was getting a little richer from oil, but still had short lives. And the Asian giants, China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia, they were still poor and sick down here. But look what is about to happen. Here we go again. In my lifetime, former colonies gained independence, and then finally they started to get healthier and healthier and healthier. And in the 1970s, then countries in Asia and Latin America started to catch up with the Western countries. They became the emerging economies. Some in Africa follows. Some Africans were stuck in civil war and others hit by HIV. And now we can see the world today in the most up-to-date statistics. Most people today live in the middle, but there are huge differences at the same time between the best of countries and the worst of countries. And there are also huge inequalities within countries. These bubbles show country averages, but I can split them. Take China, I can split it into provinces. There goes Shanghai. It has the same wealth and health as Italy today. And there is the poor inland province Guizhou. It is like Pakistan. And if I split it further, the rural parts are like Ghana in Africa.
And yet, despite the enormous disparities today, we have seen 200 years of remarkable progress. That huge historical gap between the West and the rest is now closing. We have become an entirely new converging world. And I see a clear trend into the future. With aid, trade, green technology and peace, it's fully possible that everyone can make it to the healthy, wealthy corner.
Well, what you just seen in the last few minutes is a story of 200 countries shown over 200 years and beyond. It involved plotting of 120,000 numbers. Pretty neat, huh?
So maybe I can just pick up a few thoughts. So, Sarah, what are your thoughts on the video?
I think it was a really captivating way to tell such a story with the, and it was pretty simple considering how the choices that they used to show the different statistics made it really simple to understand with the bubbles and the visualizations of how they're moving across time. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Nelson? Nashon? Any thoughts, Joseph? Joseph, what are your thoughts on the video?
I personally think BI made, okay, I'm assuming he used Power BI, so it made it possible to visualize data that possibly would have taken much longer. We saw that video was about 5 minutes long, and it explained a lot about the status of the entire world. And if he was using any other data analysis method, it would have taken much longer. But since he had visualization techniques, it was possible to show a lot of information in a short time.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I guess we'll dive into Power BI. So we'll get to learn how to actually plot different visuals on Power BI, analyze different kinds of data on Power BI. Yes, so today is mostly going to be an introductory class, and also I'll give you some space to also get to practice what we will be able to cover in this class. So I hope you've downloaded Power BI. So you can just type a 1 on the chat if you're done downloading Power BI and you have Power BI set up on your laptop. Make sure just a 1 on the chat if you downloaded Power BI. Thanks, Nelson. See. Thanks, Nation. Thanks, Lillian. For those who missed it, that's the link to download Power BI. Here it is. Okay. So you can just download it if you hadn't. Yes. Can begin. Okay. So if you have Power BI, you can just begin by opening it. So let me open mine so you can see how it is. Okay, you're welcome. So when you open Power BI, it should open like either this landing screen or let me just go back. Okay, any like this landing screen. So you can just get, let me send you a data set that you can be able to analyze together. Give me 1 second. Just give me a second. I hope you can hear me. Second. So I'm just sharing a data set that we'll be able to use for the class today. So it's on customers. I'm just add it to a drive and it will be accessed by link. Just keep typing one as you add as you open your Power BI. So that's the link we'll be using. I'll be putting all the files that we'll be going through on that drive. So just let me know if you can open it, and you can see a data set called customers, customers1 .csv. Okay. Yeah. So I hope you can see my screen. So when I open my Power BI, it's the first thing I see. So I have the new option, the recommended places. These are the dashboards I've done so far. Yeah, so we'll just create a new report. So you just click under new. If your pop-up brought get data, just click on get data or just cancel it, then you can just have this pane here. If your Power BI opened also this page, then that's okay. So we've not saved it, we've not done anything so far. So this is what we can see. So to be able to import a data set, we use the get data tooltip here. So you just click on it, and it's important to take note of the data type that you are using. So for example, if it's an Excel file, it has a different data type compared to a .csv file or an XML file or a JSON file. So it's important to take note of the data that you have and what data type it is. So you can see that ours is a .csv file. So if I look for example, if I click on an Excel file, it's Excel workbook, and I know it's not an Excel workbook. It's under my downloads. Right now I can't see it because I've clicked on Excel instead of a CSV file. So it will show me all the Excel files under my downloads because I know it's under my download. So but then when I look for it in the correct file type, so it's a CSV file. So I go to this option, text or CSV. Then I click on connect. I can see all the options I have here. So we want to import the customers data set. So I'll just click on customers, then I click on open. Let me stop there. And now just check in with you to just make sure we're all on the same page. And just let me know in case you're stuck so that I don't progress and I leave someone behind. You can just let me know first if you have Power BI. For those who didn't put a one on the chat, then just let me know if we're okay until that point. You've been able to download the data from the drive, and now click on get data. and import it. So let me cancel this and I repeat the step so that we can be able to be on the same page. So this is the first thing I see on Power BI. At times, might if your Power BI is not up to date, it might bring some green pop-up here. With an option to get data. Then it also has this option here to get data. So I'll just click on this tooltip here for get data. So I've just clicked on it. So this has come up. So there are all different data types that can be imported into Power BI. So I mentioned you can you can load data from different sources into Power BI. So for example, if it's a PDF, if it's a SQL database server, if it's an Access database, if it's a Google Sheet, anything honestly, you can be able to load data into Power BI. You can see all the options that it has. Yeah, so for ours, when I go to the Google Sheet, the Google Drive, so here it is. So it's customers1.csv. So that .csv here is the data type. So you can see it's a CSV file. So if I looked for it under, for example, any other data type on Power BI, for example, an Excel file, and I click connect, I wouldn't be able to see the data here because that's not the correct data type. So I have to click the get data tooltip, then I click text or CSV, then I click on connect. Then I can be able to see it. So we're using the customers data set. So I click on it and I click open. Then this pops up. So you have different options. You can load the data directly to Power BI, or you can transform the data. That means you can be able to actually open it on Power Query. Power Query is also available on Excel, and you can actually be able to manipulate the data, such as, for example, cleaning it, removing null values, splitting the data. Yes, so before I click on transform, I hope we're all on the same page. Please alert me if I'm going too fast. You're all okay? You can just put a thumbs up or type okay before we go to Power Query. Thanks, Nashon. Okay. Let me assume you're all okay, but then in case of anything, please stop me. If I'm going too fast, let me know. If you need anything repeated, please also let me know. Okay. Yes, so we are here. So we want to clean the data first and just check if it's okay before loading it back to now Power BI. But you can always reiterate like between Power Query and Power BI, and I'll show you how. So we'll just click on transform data instead of loading it. And we can be able to look at the data. So firstly, we can be able to first, in case you don't like the naming of the data, or in future when we're talking about data modeling, if you want to, let's say, create two different tables, like duplicate the table, you want to rename the table, you can either double click on the name here. You can just call it customer. Then it has also changed over here. Then you can just change it from here. For example, if I click I remove the S, it's just customer, and the data, the name of the data set is changed. So let me just rename it back to customers. So I mentioned you can double click over here under queries, or you can edit it from this side. So you can be able to edit the name from here. Same to the title. The title, you can just double click and you can be able to edit it. You can be able to edit it if you don't have, you just want it to rename. For example, if it wasn't properly named, you can name it. I've just added an underscore, the customer's ID. It's not significant, but then it's important to practice. So you can just try renaming any column as you see fit. I can give you a minute to do that. So because we already, let's at in the next 1 minute. So 3:23. Technically 1 minute, but yes, let's meet at 3:23. Yeah, I'm just here. I've just stopped, so at least you can be trying to rename a column. Okay. So here at least you've been able to rename one column. Yeah, so we can get just more information about different columns from the bottom here. So we can see we have 9 columns and 793 rows. So we have the customer ID column, the customer name, the segment, the age, the count, the country, the city, state, postal code, and region. So firstly, when you get a data set, we want to figure out what are the different columns you have, which columns, for example, are categorical columns, which columns are numerical columns, and we can see that we have age here, which would be able to help us like make informed decisions. For example, if you want to look at for example, the minimum and maximum age, and also the average age. For example, you can choose age to be able to do that. If you wanted to group the ages into groups, let's say from 18 to 30, 30 to 40. Yeah, so any group. So this could be able to, we could be able to do a lot with that. We can see we had country. I don't know if it's the same country for all the rows, but we can check on that by clicking on this down arrow to look at all the values of our data set. So you can see it only has United States. So it's not saying that much. It's not saying that much. It wouldn't. You could put this in a description of the dashboard. That, for example, you can highlight that this data is on the customers for company X in this specific country. So you wouldn't exactly have to use it in your dashboard. Then we have city, state, postal code, and the region. So you can also look at additional information on the column. So under the view pane, so you see under Power Query, we're currently on home, where we have options such as to add a new source, to manage the data source settings, to refresh the data. For example, if it's on a Excel sheet, you can actually just click on this in case you update the Excel sheet. It should be able to reflect over here on Power BI, on Power Query rather. You can look at the properties, you can look at advanced editor, you can manage, you can choose the columns that you want. So under choose columns, for example, here, let's just choose a column. So for example, you have all these columns and you want to get rid of, let's say, the country. So we see it's just United States, so we can get rid of that. So I've just unchecked this box, then I've clicked OK. So let me just give that a second. So I mentioned that under choose columns, then you can just uncheck the column that you don't want to use. Instead of altogether removing it, then to go to column just helps you go to a specific column. So if you want to go to, let's say, age, and you click OK, to take you to the age column. This would be relevant if you have a data set that has a lot of columns, so it's easy to go to that specific column rather than scrolling there. Yeah, so I mentioned under choose columns, which is home. So choose columns, then you uncheck the box that you don't want. Then you click OK, then under go to column helps you just go to that specific column. So you can go to segment from here, then you click OK. After there, I'll just be moving back and forth to the chart just in case there's any questions. If there's anything I need to repeat. Okay. Yeah. So I mentioned, okay, so first we're looking at the home tab. Let's go to transform. Let's see what we can do. You can use the first row as the header. So for example, if the first row, the customer ID was down here, customer name was here, or even I'd like to just change like this specific row 1 to be my header. I could add that. So I could just use the first row as header. Then my first row is actually the header, like the titles. But then I can delete that step because Power BI takes note of all the steps that you've been able to carry out right here. So under applied steps, you can see there's promoted header and then it changed the data types. So you can just remove the data type and the promoted headers, and now it's back to where we were. So under use the first row as headers helps you promote the first row to become your header. The things like unpivoting a column, so you like transform like this your rows, your columns to be, yeah, your rows to be columns. Oh, yeah. You can add a column. So you can add a column from example. You can add a custom column. You can invoke a column, custom function column. So you can also create a conditional column. So we look at conditional columns when we're creating age groups for our ages. Under view, so you can look at the column profile. So let me just check this box under view. It. So we can see, let me just look at something like segment, because age has a lot of different variables. So this is more categorical data under segment. So it has 3 categories. It has consumer, corporate, and home office. So this is how they're distributed. Then under name, also this one's, they have like many options, same to the ID. Something like city, let's look at city. So it's how the city distribution is for the specific data set. State. This is how the state distribution is. So most of them are from California. Postal code. So it will just, this one is not relevant, but like in terms of just looking at the profile, but then we have the region, west, east, central, and south. Most of the people are coming from the west. You can also notice one last thing on the column for customer ID. So you can notice that CG stands for the initial of the first person, like Claire, Ruth, DV, Darian, Van. So yeah, so just a few things to take note of. So we're just exploring the data, looking at it, trying to understand the different rules and columns that we have. Yeah, so you can just switch it off. So the data looks clean. So you can just try adding age groups for our age. So I mentioned you can add a conditional column. So you can add a column now based on this specific column for age. So we can add it in groups. Let me just look at it. We have from age 18 until, okay, so 107. So we can do, doesn't have to be perfect. We can do, let's say 18 to 28. Let's do 18 to, yeah, 18 to 30, 31 to 40, 41 to 60. That's maybe a bit bigger. And then 61 to 70. So let's just do 4 groups. So you can just be able to customize this. So it doesn't have to be exact. You can create more groups. So this is just for purposes of teaching. So you can add a column. So under add column, you go to create a conditional column. So this is the conditional part. So let me close it. Then it says home, transform, add column. So under add column, conditional column. Let's close this. So home, transform, add column, conditional column. So this will pop up. So you can first, it gives you an option to change the name of the new column. So we're creating age groups. So let me call it age group. Age group. So the conditional statement says if. So if, then the column name. So the column we're looking at is age, because you want to look at the age group will be age group column that we're creating will be based on the age column, the age variable. So if the age group, so the operator has different options. So it has is equals to, so if the operator, like for example, if age is equals to a certain age, it would give a specific output. We also have does not equal to, so if it doesn't meet those requirements, if it's greater than, if it's greater than or equal to, if it's less than or equal to. So we have so age. So age, if age is, we want to look at is less than or equal to. So if it's less than or equal to 30, so it will take anything less than or equal to 30. Equals to 30. So we know the youngest is 18. 2, but you can also confirm that. Actually, you can use a gauge. That 18 to 30. You can add years. So that's the output that we have. So if age is less than or equal to 30, put the output as 18 to 30 years. Then you can add another clause. If age is less than or equal to, let me do 50. Into 60. Yeah, into 60. So 31 to 60. 1 to 60 years. So it could be more than this. Don't have to be the thing I'm giving. You can have like 4 different beans. You can have, let's say, from 18 to 30, 31 to 40. So you can feel free to play around with this specific part. Then we have an else operation. So if the value of age does not meet any of these two requirements we've stated, we can just put now an else clause. So if it doesn't meet these two requirements, then print this. So 61 and above. Okay. So I can just click OK. So we have our row here, our column here. Sorry, let me move this closer to age. Yeah, so you can see if it's this is 107, so it's basically 61 and above. 31 is 31, between 31 and 60 years. 65 is, so you can see it's within the groups that we've been able to create. Let me just check with you just to make sure that you've been able to do this, and give you five minutes just to be able to implement the same. So just let me before I give you the 5 minutes. This is how I went about it. So add a conditional column. So then I gave it a name. Then it's saying that because there is each group column already. So I'm just putting each group 1. Then if the age is, I use less than or equal to 30. I called it 18 to 30. 18 30 years. If age group, especially if age is less than or equal to 60, equals just 31 to 60. Then if the age does not meet any of these two requirements, so it's not between 18, between less than 30, or if it's not between 31 to 60, it will label it as this value that we've added as the else clause. You don't have to put it on here. You can actually just add another clause for it, then leave the else clause. But then you could just add it here as 61 and above. Okay. So yeah, so that's how I added it. So let me give you 5 minutes. That 5, and I'll make it 5 minutes. So at 341, we see from here. Just delete this because I already have it. So I just right-clicked it, then I clicked to move. Yeah, so I have my age and my age group column. So you can just try and create your age group column. It was under add column. So let me give you the 5 minutes. So I hope you're all able to just create a conditional column. Just let me know if you're all okay. If you're stuck, please let me know. I can also be able to help troubleshoot in case of anything. So let's continue. So now since we are done cleaning the data, so we can be able to load it on Power BI and now begin making our visualizations. So under the Home tab, there's this option for close and apply. So you can just click it on here. You can just press on it. So it's the options you have. You can just close and apply. You can apply the changes, but then leave our query open or just close it. So we want to close and apply the changes so that we can be able to load them on Power BI and now begin making visuals. So it's loading. Yeah, it's done. Yeah, so let me first begin by saving it so I don't lose my changes. So under file, save as. Yeah. You can just browse and save it in the app. Let me just. So let me save it as a customer. Customer analysis. So I've just saved it down. So this is the pane that opens up first. So I mentioned you can reiterate between now Power Query and Power BI. So you can do that by clicking on the transform data icon here. So just click on transform data and you're back on Power Query and you can just go back by closing and applying the changes. So back to here. So we have the get data options over here. We can transform the data, we can refresh. You can add new visuals, a text box, get more visuals from here. You can create a quick measure. You can publish your dashboard. So you can perform a lot of actions in Power BI. So here, same, you can be able to add a new page, create a new visual, add new visuals, shapes, text boxes, buttons, which we'll look at when we're learning how to navigate between pages, adding images. Under modeling, it just has more on measures and calculated columns. Then you can be able to actually format the theme. You can optimize your dashboard and just get help on other things. Yeah, so mostly firstly focusing on this pane, just learning how to be able to create different visuals using Power BI. So this is where the data is. So you can just click on the customers table. So when you open it up, you can see you have all the columns that we had. So we have age, the age group, city, customer name, customer ID, postal code, region, segment, and state. So given that, for example, if we want to look at, I had mentioned that we would be able to see how we can be able to get a range or create a gauge of seeing the minimum, the maximum, and the average age of the different customers. So we can use this icon here. This is called a gauge. So once you hover on the different visuals, it should highlight the name. So this is a stacked bar chart, stacked column chart, a clustered bar chart, a clustered column chart. So this is a map. Here is the field map. This is a shape map. Also, you can be able to create a shape map for yourself. We have an Azure map. We have an area map, an area chart. We have a line chart, a pie chart, and a chart, which is more or less the same. We have a table, a matrix. So there are different visualizations, and honestly, we can't even exhaust all of them. So under get more visuals, I don't think you have that option unless you have an O365 account. You should be able to have it, but otherwise, it's also okay. So just mentioning it, even with the visuals that they provide, they're quite a number, and there are more that Power BI has to offer. Just let it load. So I can be able to show you. Yeah. So these are all the different visuals that Power BI has. There are so many. You can't even begin to exhaust them, and you can also import different visuals. Yeah, so let's begin by using the gauge. So this is the gauge. I've just clicked on it. Let me just expand it a bit, make some space in case we put our title. So we can add the age here. So this is the age, and this is the different fields where you can add the age. So the middle value would be, for example, the average. So I'll just add it here. Let me add age and a value, age and a minimum value, age and a maximum value. So you notice that it has the word sum here, some is taking it as a sum. But then you can be able to actually change that on Power BI. So you can actually change, if you want to look at, for example, average, you can leave it as average. If you want to look at the minimum, you can look at the minimum. So anything. So for the middle one, for this value here, I'd want it to have the average age. We'll see how to remove the decimal places, but for now, let's keep going. We can also add the minimum age, so the minimum here, so we can use the minimum option. So min option, here is the minimum option. So yes, the youngest age is 18. Let me just add the brightness. Then the maximum age, which would be this specific part here. Scroll down, and the maximum under age, just add maximum. So you can see the maximum age is 107, the minimum age is 18, and the average age of the people of the customers of this specific data set is 44.52. But then age, okay, technically you can't have an age. You're either like, people normally count and see, or this child, for example, is 1.5 years or something. But we want to just take off the decimal places. So under format your visual, you can actually be able to do that. So click on format your visual, and then under your data labels, because under call out value, sorry, under display units. Okay, no, this is put it as 0. Let's just leave, yes, yeah, let's leave this as none, but you can just leave it as auto, that's okay. Let me, just give me a second. Sorry for that. Yeah, so I mentioned just under, when you click on the visual, you can be able to format it. We'll look at it more later on when we're talking about designing our dashboard. But then under format your visual, you can do many things. You can change the color of this, you can change the font type, you can change the font size, you can change the you can make it bold color. So yeah, so the under display units is just, I just left as none, but even auto is fine, doesn't really matter, especially for this part. But then if in case it was a larger number, like for example 800 billion, Power BI, if it's auto, would be able to mention it as, like, let's say 4 or 8 B. But then if you want to see the value as is, that's when you leave it as none. But right now, for now, the number is really small, so it doesn't really matter. But then under value decimal places, I just put it as 0. You can increase it to 1, can decrease it here, but let's just leave it as 0. So yes, we won't format it for now. We'll look at more, look more into design possibly tomorrow. So then the next thing we're gonna, for example, visualize is we want to look at the region and the distribution. So we can use something like a stacked bar chart. So I've just clicked on the bar chart visual. It's automatically gone there, so that's okay. I don't really mind. Or let's do the stacked column chart. So we can add region as the x-axis. So you just click on it and drag it here. Then you can put the y-axis as the count of the region. So I've just clicked on it again, then I've just dragged it to the y-axis. Then it's now counting the y, like how many times each specific region has appeared. So you can see the West is the most with 255 people, followed by the East, then Central, in the south. You'll be able to do that. You just drag and drop it. So under count, there are two options. So we have count distinct and count. So you see for non-numerical values, so if we age, it has this sign, so it's a numerical value. So it doesn't have age would be able to have options like sum, average, minimum, maximum. So you'd be able to have such options that you can be able to, for example, calculate. But then for non-numerical values, for example, region would have count and count distinct. For some of them, you would also have first and last. But yes, so we want to just count. Count means just counting each occurrence of a specific value. So it's counting how many times West has appeared. East, central, and south. Count distinct. Okay, right. For now, it wouldn't make sense. But then let me just show you. It will just show one because each value is appearing only once. Each distinct value is appearing only once. That's what it means. But then if you're looking at something like IDs and the IDs are repeating, count distinct would make sense. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Yeah, so count is just counting how many times each specific value has occurred, but then count distinct will show you how many times each value has distinctly occurred. So if West has only occurred, okay, West has only occurred once, but just being repeated across each specific customer. I don't know if that makes sense. Always get through there. Juma, are you okay? We together until that point.
Yes, I'm good. I think it is displaying, but I think where I was missing out was where I was transforming data. My data did not come to the table, like where I did not get to like see my data set before I put it on Power BI.
Okay.
But
are you
I've
okay?
got it. I've seen. Yes.
Okay.
I've launched it on there is this.
Okay.
Transform data. Now that is where I've seen it. Right after I show it. I think it's okay now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. In case of anything, just always feel free to stop me. Okay. So I guess we can go on. So I'd just like for you guys to try and get a visual. So I want you to represent the age group by the customer name or by the customer ID. So it just counts the distribution of the age group. It can also be the age group by itself. We just want to see for each of the 3 age groups or 4 or 5 age groups that you've been able to create, what's the distribution like? So how many people are between like this specific to this specific age group? So I just like you to try that for the next let me give you just 5 minutes to be able to do that. Then at exactly 4, you can be able to show me what you have. I'll just pick a number of you just to show, you can just show me what you have. Or just show me what you have. You can just type in the chat. Let me ask you to type in the chat instead. So you can just let me know the age groups you had, the groups you had, and how many people are represented in those different groups. Okay. Hi, you've just seen your message. Okay, I hope you can hear me. Maybe just I can't see anything on the chat, so I don't know. So just maybe you can just walk me through. We can begin with Faith. Have you been able to create your age group distribution visual? That one? Lillian, just let me know if you've been able to create your visual. Just tell me, you can just unmute yourself, then let me know. Or you had 3 or 4 different groups. The highest was this group with this number of people, something like that.
For me,
Uh-huh.
I've not been able to create a visual. I did have 3 age groups. So I had 31 to 0 to 30, then 31 to 16 and above 60, but I've not been able to create any visual, unfortunately.
That's okay. That's okay. And that's why we're here. So we can be able to create it together. So you can pick any visual. So let's pick a stacked bar chart. Let me just expand this. Let's put it here for now. Yeah, so we can be able to get the age group and have it as our y-axis. Then we can actually add it itself and use it as a count. So you can add it under the x-axis also, and just use it as a count. So this is how they're distributed. So most people are between 31 to 60 years, followed by 18 to 30 years, followed by 61 and above. So this is how you could be able to do it. You can also add the same thing. Let me just, this is for 47. So you can also remove this.
Maybe what I can ask.
Yeah.
Maybe I can ask a question because that's where I got stuck. How do I add the data? Because I've chosen the bar graph, or is it class, but I'm unable to add the data to that graph.
You chose this bar graph, this one.
Yes.
Okay, so let me use it again. I've just clicked on it. I've dragged it and just put it where I want it. So do you have this pin for data? Can you see data on your end?
Oh yes, I can.
Okay, so when you click on it, right now mine is closed. I've just opened it. So now I can see all my different columns. So I have age group, city, customer name, customer ID, postal code, region, segment, and state. Can you see that?
No, mine reads customers, the customer, like the whole data that I imported.
So it doesn't have age
sense?
group.
I don't know. Oh, okay. Yes. It has age group. Sorry for that.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been able to get there.
Okay, so you click on age group, then you just drag and drop it. You see this one is selected. I've selected on it on the visual I want to add it to. So I've clicked age group, then I add it. Then I can also add, I can click on age group also and add it under the x-axis. So it counts the x, the number of times each age group appears on the column. You can also do the same. It's the same thing, same value if I add it under customer ID, because each customer has a specific age group. So it should the same value. So let me change one of them to age group. So you can see between 31 to 60 years is 477 people using 447 people using the count of age group by the age group itself, and then also the same thing by count of the customer ID by the age group itself. So it's the same value considering just counting each occurrence of a specific age group. So I don't know if you have the same thing and it's been able to work.
Yes, it's yes, I do have it right now. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we can explore something else. We can explore a card, for example. So at the beginning, we saw that the data has 700 and something. Let me see. Yeah, 793 rows. So 793 distinct customers, hopefully. So we can check if they're distinct or not using a card, for example. So a card is this one. So let me just click on it. So this visual here is a card. So once I click on it, it's added here. So if I want to count the number of customers, so I'd use something like a unique identifier of the customers, such as the customer ID. So we have a customer ID here. If we didn't have an ID, we could be able to add an index column. So there was an option for add, it is, just go back to transform data. So this is per query. So under add column, you can add an index column. So once you click on this down arrow, you can start the counting of the IDs, for example, from 1 or 0. But yeah, but then we have a customer ID table, so we don't exactly need to add an index column. Yeah, so I was just showing that. So yes, so I've just added the card. So this is the card. I just clicked on it and here it is. So to add a card to count the number of customers, so for example, we'd use the customer ID. So we'd add it here. So I've just clicked on it and I've dragged it to the customers, to the field for the card. So you see, I told you that for text data text data types, you wouldn't have the same options as you have for numerical data types. So you see under this one, under this card, this is the first, or yeah, this, okay, this is, for example, it's calling it the first customer. But then you have options such as first, last, count, distinct, and count. So I want to just count the number of customers. So you can see there are 793 customers. If you want to confirm if all of them are distinct customers, so you can just click on this drop down arrow, then you see count distinct. So you see it's still 793 and it hasn't changed. That means that each row, each customer, each row in the data set is unique. So there's no two different customers with the same identifier, which is good. So you can change the name of how it's labeled, but we'll talk about it tomorrow. Let me show you an option where we're using numerical data to add a card. So let me add another card. So I've clicked on the card icon. So let me click on it here. So here it is. It may appear differently on a different location on your visualization screen, but yeah, this is how it looks like. So one, it has a label here. So you can add the, for example, age. So let me add age. So you see that the options for numerical values are different. So we have sum, average, minimum, maximum, count, distinct, count. So you can just, let me just add average just for the sake, just to show any. Yes. So there are different options for different data types. So for example, if your data would come and it's in the wrong format, you can actually be able to change the data type. Let me go back to transform data. I'll come back here. So you can just check here. So this is the data type identification of this specific column. So you see it's labeling it as text. So that's okay for now. That's okay, honestly, because just an ID. But then if, for example, the age was a text and yeah, the age was a text, you wouldn't be able to manipulate it. So let me just add it as a text. It might throw an error, but it might also not. So you see, I've changed it to text. Then let me just close and apply the changes. So you can see these two visuals have thrown an error because there's no average age for individuals. So let me just add the age again. So you can see it has only first, last, count, distinct. So you see it doesn't have anything that is useful for that specific column. That's why you have to check that the data type that the data has been loaded with is actually accurate. Okay. Just close this. Then I transform again. Yeah. Yeah, so let me close and apply. Average. Yes, so so let me have you make another visual. So maybe you can try using a map. So let me use city. So we can use this field map. The one that's shaded in gray and blue. Let's see how it plays out. Just move this around to kind of try and arrange it, but we'll look into design later. It's not a must. I'm just trying to make space. So, okay. Yeah, so I want to add the location as the city. You can, if you had coordinates for latitude and longitude, you can actually be able to use that and add coordinates for different locations. You can add tooltips, so such that when you hover on it, it should show more information. I don't think the city is showing anything. Let me try use a different map. Let me use this map. Yeah, so the map is actually better than the field map in this scenario. So you can see the distribution of the customers. So most of them are coming from this specific area, then a few here and a few in Australia. At times when you want to use a map, let me just go back. Let's definitely load and load. Yeah, at times when you want to use a map to, let's say, give more information, let me scroll down. You want to have, let's say, the bubble size. So this bubble size to represent the number of customers. So I can just put customer ID and a bubble size. So you see, just expand this. So you see, given the way it is, it doesn't say as much. It's really hard to tell, like, for example, these are with specific areas. So it would be best, as much as you want to use a map, it would be better to use a different visual compared to a map. For example, you can use a bar chart to represent the same, because it's actually so hard to see which specific city that this most people are coming from using this specific map. But you can use something like a bar chart, which would be able to be easy for you to actually, while you're presenting, to actually be able to see, rather than hovering and seeing, okay, I can see a big bubble here, which country, which city is this, and so on and so forth. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, so let me just use anything. This bar chart. So you can add the city here, and then you can add the count of the customer ID as the x-axis. You can see this tells a lot more information compared to the maps. You can see it's New York City, followed by Los Angeles, then Philadelphia, and so on and so forth. Yes, we look at things like ranking, for example, the top 3 cities or countries or locations, or for example, customers in the next class. But for now, I'd like you to explore Power BI and add more visuals, come up with more questions that you're trying to answer on Power BI, and just use the data to just generate different visuals. You can try and explore to the format your visual pane before we talk about it tomorrow. Try and change the colors, go to columns and the colors. So you can change it to anything, honestly. Yeah, so just explore Power BI and be able to try different things using Power BI. That's okay. Yeah, this is how to add text box. You can just put at the top, add a title. Sorry. Expand it, add a title, change the font type. So try different things. Change it. Font type, try different things, and we can go over it tomorrow. I hope that's okay. Okay, today, so let me just check in. Nashon, Lillian, Sarah, Agnes, Ian, Sammy. I hope you're all okay up to that point. I didn't see some of you at the beginning, so let me just copy and paste a few links. So this is the one to download Power BI for the ones who didn't catch it. And this is the drive that has the data set. So yes, we just went about a few cleaning techniques, looking at the data types today, changing. We're able to add a conditional column based on age to be able to group the different ages into groups rather than displaying them individually. We're able to add a gauge, a few bar charts, a map, a card. So I just like for you to explore Power BI. Use this time to explore Power BI. Just learn how to rename the title and change the font type. Just learn how to design it a bit. Then just save it. Then we can talk about it tomorrow. I hope that's okay. Ian, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Thanks for that. I guess we'll meet tomorrow and see what you've been able to come up with. Okay. Thanks for that. I'll hang back for a few minutes just in case you have any questions.